Hey guys, welcome to the third guide in our new series of Ultimate RuneScape 3 skilling and or money making guides. This guide will show you how to do Complexity 2 solo Dungeoneering Fishing as a main method of training fishing, with XP rates varying from between 80k to just over 100k per hour depending on your level, which is arguably the best in game, but personally I would much prefer to do this over the alternative but equally good method, barbarian fishing, which can become extremely tedious in the long term. I will assume you know the basics of dungeoneering and you are well enough accustomed to it that you can do things quickly and efficiently as soon as you find your pixelated soul in a creepy looking square room with a bearded and shady smuggler. Technically, there are no requirements for this method at all, well, apart from unlocking Complexity 2, but I would highly recommend that you have a minimum of the following for it to be worthwhile as far as fishing XP per hour is concerned. Don't expect much Dungeoneering XP out of this method, by the way, certainly not using the methods I show in this video, which are purely intended on optimizing fishing experience per hour. The first recommendation is 80 fishing, because the method isn't really worth doing below level 80, because there are other better XP rate methods below this, and you shouldn't really do it, but if you do want to, you can try it out. The second recommendation is that you have to have decent combat stats in your chosen style of attack, and level 95 prayer as a secondary sort of recommendation, because this speeds up the process of clearing out guardian doors, which is mandatory to progress through the dungeon. If you've done any dungeoneering, you'll know about this. You don't need a high dungeoneering level, but if you're brand new to dungeoneering, you're going to struggle navigating through the dungeon, so you probably want a decent amount of dungeoneering experience before you try this, and that's actual experience, not in-game dungeon XP, even though they tend to correlate. Now, the last major recommendation is gatestones. These significantly speed up the process of getting keys and navigating through the dungeon, as you will know that you need to do very well if you're at higher dungeoneering levels, and this would obviously boost your fishing XP per hour, because you will get through the dungeon much faster and the time spent not actually fishing is much less. Either have cosmic runes bound so that you can do this, or do the Demonheim tasks. You need to do the medium tasks for the free cosmic runes at the start of every dungeon, and the elite tasks for an extra free gatestone on top of this, which I'd highly recommend that you do if you have the requirements for it. Now, the reason you choose Complexity 2 and not 6 is because you only have a limited number of skills in Complexity 2, so the chance of there being a fishing spot in your room, in a room that you opened, is much higher in Complexity 2 than Complexity 6, because obviously in 6 you have all skills, and in Complexity 2 you only have a limited number of skills, so you can only get those resources in that room, if that makes sense. There are also other things like there being puzzles, the monsters being stronger, etc. in Complexity 6, and also the amount of XP each fishing spot gives is randomly halved in C2, with a 50-50 chance for every fishing spot. In contrast, this doesn't happen at all in C6, so all the fishing spots give maximum fishing XP in Complexity 6, but it's still much better to do C2 fishing because of the other factors mentioned. To start off with, you want to access your party settings using a ring of kinship and select any of the frozen floors. I wouldn't recommend doing this for floors beyond frozen, because there tend to be less fishing spots there. Choose C2 and go in, and you will automatically be placed in a small dungeon. The first thing you do is you buy out 250 feathers from the smuggler and get your runes off him if you've done the relevant Demonheim tasks, this being Demonheim task 2, and obviously you can do this in any order. Make sure your action bar has a few basic abilities in the style you're using and a couple of thresholds, as well as the gatestone stuff. This includes make the gatestone, drop the gatestone, and a teleport to the gatestone. Surge is now obsolete, so don't add it in like I have, because for some reason it doesn't work inside Demonheim anymore. Now, note from the minimap if your dungeon is single way or not. That is, if there's only one door out from the starting room. If there is, just go through it. If there isn't, if there's more than one door out from the starting room, quickly use the keybinds you just made to make and drop the gate stone and go through one of the doors. All you do is clear out guardian doors if there are any, empty all the fishing spots, collect the keys and put gate stones anywhere else where there are 2 or more doors from a dungeon room, so you can get back to opening the other doors. The fishing itself is probably the least involved part of it. The most time consuming bit is the dungeoneering itself, I'd say. However, do make sure to always keep a keen eye out for fishing spots in rooms with bodies of water, and don't be disheartened if you find barely any or no fishing spots in a dungeon. Just remember that it's randomly generated, so it can happen that way from time to time. Make sure to use your relevant offensive prayers to speed things up, as well as your Ring of Kinship combat boosting specialization. Many people believe that using the Gatherer's specialization will improve their fishing XP rates, but from what I've found, all it does is give you extra resources without giving you the XP for them. So if this is true, then obviously there's no advantage in terms of fishing XP per hour to using the Gatherer's specialization. As you watch what I do in the background, let me just give you guys some tips and info. First of all, you get a little once you get a little experience at this, you'll know which door the boss is going to be in, and it generally tends to be either a key door or at the base, or you'll just know after you open around 5 or so doors that the next one's going to be a boss door. So don't go all the way to the door on the other side of the dungeon when you know it's going to be the boss. Don't do the boss, by the way, just exit the dungeon because it saves you a lot of time, except in a few cases which you can see in the background at some point. Know that it's going to be difficult to exit the dungeon using the Ring of Kinship interface when you're in combat, so just be aware of that. When you do leave, make sure to leave your party interface open to restart a party, because it can be time consuming to go through the longer process of forming a party by clicking on the ladder every time you finish the dungeon. Now, because this is based a lot on luck as to how many fishing spots you can get per dungeon, the XP rates do vary from time to time. On average, I'd probably expect 90 to 100k per hour at level 95 fishing. As I said, once you get better and higher leveled, etc., and you do this for a long period of time, you'll get into the groove, and this average figure will increase, and you'll definitely notice things going much smoother as well. So I'll end the guide with a few disclaimers and things. First of all, I've heard that in order to be able to get a certain level of fishing spot, you need to have the same cooking level as well. So for instance, if you're 90 fishing but you can't see any cave moray fishing spots, it's probably because you don't have 90 cooking. However, I can't confirm this, so please do let me know and let others know if any of you guys find out anything about this. Remember also that duoing this is a definite possibility. Again, I haven't tried it properly, but if you both have shared XP on and one person clears out the rooms and does the dungeon while the other does fishing, the floor can be done quite quickly and both get half the fishing XP per fish caught each. Although the fishing XP per person is lower, fishing XP rate per person is lower, it can be much more fun to do it this way. And don't forget that before you finish fishing all the spots, it's likely that your friend will have completed to the boss, so this can be a good way of ticking off floors and get some decent dungeoneering XP. Also, if your friend doesn't have the necessary fishing level requirement for a fish you're catching, they won't get the shared XP in it either, so you'll get all the XP for that particular type of fish. Coming back to doing the boss, there's nothing stopping you from killing the boss while soloing too, for the much better dungeon XP from completing the floors and ticking off the floors to build up prestige for resetting. But it's just that the fishing XP rates will be compromised if you do this. And finally, the XP rates can be increased by roughly 30 to 40% if you duo this method with shared XP off while the other person does the dungeon, since you can focus almost all your time on the actual fishing while the other person exclusively does the dungeon. This is a viable option provided that you have a friend willing to do this for you, because obviously they'll get no fishing XP and only dungeoneering and some combat XP. Anyway, in the background you can see the outcome of 1 hour of me doing C2 fishing at level 99 fishing, just to give you an idea of how good it can be, but do remember that this can vary very slightly with luck and experience. To be honest, I was a bit rusty and made a few mistakes, as you probably will have seen, so this could be improved upon. Thank you very much for watching, guys, and I hope it helps you towards your fishing goals. Please do leave feedback and anything that needs changing or adding that I could let others know about, for example the cooking level thing that I mentioned earlier, and related matters, especially if the method has gotten updated. We will get back to you as soon as possible, and we'll be very glad to annotate our guide with the relevant updated info. Don't forget to leave a like if it helped you out, and also feel free to check out our other guides in this series, which will be shown now.